Alright, so we're going to look at lesson 6 in solving multi-step problems involving surface area and volume, and not just strictly looking at cylinders. So we're going to try and make this kind of quick. So we're going to jump right in to number 1. It says a toy manufacturer makes a game that they package in a cube-shaped carton with a surface area of 54 square inches. What is the volume of the shipping container? So we still want to get in the habit of highlighting what the question is asking and what key information that we have. So when we look back, what is the question asking? It says the question is asking for volume. And so now that we know that, we can go in and find our key information. So it says it is a cube shape. That's important. What do we know about a cube? We know that all the sides are the same. So if this side is 5, then all the other sides are 5. We also know that the surface area equals 54. If I know the surface area, then that means I can whittle down and I can find out the base, I can find out the perimeter, and I can find out the height. Okay, so that's a very useful information. So coming over to part A, it says what information is given? Are we given the surface area or are we given the volume? And it is given of the surface area. What is the information that we're trying to find? We're trying to find the volume. So what this wants us to do is wants us to write the formulas of surface area and volume for a cube, where S is the length of an edge. And these are going to be very important for you to refer back to throughout our notes to think through this. So our original surface area formula is surface area equals 2 times the area of the base plus the perimeter of the base times the height of the prism. Well, if it's a cube, they're all going to be the same side lengths. So let's come over here, and I'm going to just call these S because that's what it told me to call it. Side length, side length, side length. If I wanted to come and find my B, which is the area of the base, if I wanted to find the area of this base here, it would just be, because it's a square, it's length times width, or S times S, making it S squared. My P is the perimeter, where I walk the edge of the shape. So I would go S, and S, and S, and S, which would leave me with 4S. And the height of my prism, once again, is just S. So we got a lot of S's going on, so let's plug it into our formula. So we have 2 times our B, we said B was S squared, plus our perimeter, which was 4 squared, times our, or 4S, times our height, which was S. There's a lot of S's that we could be combining right here. For one, we have an S times an S, which would make it 4S squared. And here we have 2S squared. Remember we talked about combining like terms, that we can combine them if they have the same exponents. This is the first time we're really seeing exponents involved. But because they both have the same variable and the same exponent, we can combine those together to equal 6S squared. So we can say that the surface area formula for a cube is 6S squared. And that's going to be really important for you to know. You may want to highlight that in a special color or something like that. But this is surface area of a cube. Okay, this is important. Well, we can use that same information to find the volume of a cube. So remember, volume is area of the base times the height. Well, my base that we found is S squared times my height, which is S. So now I have an S squared and an S, which would combine to give me S cubed, hence the reason it's called a cube. So our volume formula for a cube is volume equals S, whatever the side length is, cubed to the 3rd power. We're multiplying it 3 times, basically. Okay? So we can now use these formulas. It says use the given surface area to find the edge length S. So we know the surface area. Okay, and so we're going to use this surface area formula right here. We have surface area equals 6S squared. Well, our surface area was 54 equals 6s. We solve this the same way we solve anything. Isolate and part. Right now, the 6 and the s are being multiplied, so we would divide, which would give me 9s squared. So how do we undo a square? We haven't explicitly talked about this before, but because this is a square, to undo a square, it's called the square root. It looks like this on your calculator. So we need, if we're going to square this to get it down to just 1s, we have to square it on the other side. So the way you put that into your calculator is you see the little green right here. I don't know if you can see it. That's green right there. It's above. See how it's square? Well, undo the square is in the green, so hit second green, and you'll see your square root symbol, and then put whatever you're squaring, rooting 9, which gives me 3. So this is basically saying what times what gives me 9. You know those facts. 3 times 3 equals 9. So your side length equals 9. Okay, well if my side length equals 9, that means it's 9 by 9 by 9, then we can find the volume. So volume would just be the side length 9 to the third power. Or, which is also saying the same thing as 9 times 9 times 9. Here's my length times my width times my height. Okay? So 9 cubed will give me 729. Oh, I'm sorry, it's not 9. Woo! Y'all should stop me. Sorry, the side length when we did it was 3. Sorry, didn't mean to confuse you there. Sorry, 3. I was about to say, this is not the numbers I got when I first did this. Alright, 9, and after we square it, you get 3, so it should be 3 cubed, or 3 times 3 times 3. Way to make it make sense. Alright, so 3 times 3 is 9, times 3 again gives me a volume of 27 meters cubed. Okay, like I said, you're going to want to refer back to these two formulas throughout the notes and on your homework tonight. Alright, let's see if we can speed this up a little bit. Use what you know about surface area and volume to solve each problem. So right now we have this. We know our B is about 43. If I know this side length is 5, then I could find the perimeter because there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sections. So my perimeter will be 5 times 5, which gives me 25. So I know my P and I know my B. The only thing that's missing is my H. So I have a feeling that's what we're going to be looking for. So if we look here at part A, it says the regular pentagonal prism shows a surface area of approximately 191 square centimeters. Find the approximate volume of the prism. So we are find the volume. The key information that we have here is that the surface area is 191. So we can use the information that we have from the figure and from our problem to find the volume. So we know that if we take our surface area formula and we plug in what we know that the surface area is 191. So we're going to replace surface area with 191. 2 stays 2. We know that the B from the previous page was 43, and we found the perimeter to be 25. Alright, combine like terms, simplify, combine like terms. 2 times 43 is 86. So we have 86 plus 25, H equals 191. This is when it turns into just solving, and we pivot, P-I-I-B, okay? So I'm going to write it over here so I have more room. 191 is about 86 plus 25H. I'm going to part the waters like Moses do. Isolate the variable term. Do the inverse. 86 is being added, so we need to subtract 86. Like it says right here, subtract 86 from both sides. That's gone now. So 191 minus 86, if you plug that into your calculator, you should get 105. So we have 105 equals 25H. We're still not done because we have that 25 attached to the H. So now, because they're being multiplied, we're going to divide by 25 on both sides. So see, subtract 8 from both sides gave us 105 equals about this. So now we're going to divide by 25 on both sides. And when we do that, 105 divided by 25 gives me 4.2. So now I have a height. Now you're probably asking, why am I going through all of this to find the volume? Well, if we're finding the volume requires us to have the area of the base times the height. We have this, but we don't have that. But we know we can find it through the surface area. So we're kind of having to take one route to get to the other place. So if the height is about 4.2, then we can plug that in to our volume formula, where the area of the base is 43 times the height. So my volume ends up being 180.6 centimeters cubed, or about 181 centimeters, if we round it to the nearest cubic centimeter. Alright? You are going to do this repeatedly. You're going to be given the surface area, find the volume. Be given the volume, find the surface area. So that's where you have to plug in the pieces that you know. So we have one very similar like this on part B. It says find the surface area of the rectangular prism with a square base. So what are we finding? Alright, what's the question asking us to find? This time we're finding the surface area. And if you look over in the figure, we are, whoops, my paper keeps sliding. We are given the volume. Okay, we're given an edge length of the square, which is 6, which means all the other pieces are 6. But what we're not given is the height. So we have to end up finding the height of our prism here. So if we know that the volume is 324, we can start to undo this problem. So first that's not going to go there. Sorry, it says first use the volume to find the height. That's the first thing that we're going to do. That's number 1 on the list. Alright, and I don't really like being conformed or put into these boxes, but it is what it is. Alright, so we're going to take the original formula and we're going to plug in the pieces that we know. We know that the volume is 324. We can find the area of the base because B stands for area of the base. Well, our base is a square, and you know how to find the area of a square. It's just length times width. So it would be 6 times 6, which gives me 36. From there, I can solve. I can part the waters. I can divide by 36 on both sides. And so I end up 324 divided by 6 gives me a height of 9. So now that I know that my height is 9, I can now start to plug things into my surface area formula. Because remember, with surface area, I need a B, area of the base, perimeter of the base, and the height. Well, now that I know the height is 9, I knew that the base was 36. Now I just need to plug in the perimeter, which is easy to find because I just walk the perimeter of the shape. So I go 6 plus 6 plus 6 plus 6, which gives me 24. And I can just plug all that into my formula. 2 times 36 plus 24 times 9. And let you plug that into your calculator. Gives you a grand 288. So we end up, the surface area is 288 square inches. Okay? Alright. We're going to do this problem, but we're not going to use all these things that they have us doing here. We're not going to look at this here. Okay, we're just going to look at the question. I don't like all of this. So here's our doghouse, and here's the plan of our doghouse. It says, Reggie built a doghouse shown. He will cover the outside with weatherproof paper, then cut out the entrance. How much weatherproof paper will he need? So he's going to cover the outside of this house. So if we are covering something, or the walls of something, and it's saying how much waterproof paper will he need, we need to stop and think, what is that asking for us to find? We're not filling up anything, we're wrapping something. And remember, if we're wrapping something, we're talking about surface area. So we were trying to find the surface area of this house. So if we're trying to find the surface area, we need the B, P, and H of this house. But if you'll notice, it's two separate shapes that we have to find. We have to do this for the rectangular prism, we have to do this for the triangular prism, and then we have to put it together. Thankfully, we already are given some information over here. So we know that the base of the triangle is this, the rectangle of the triangle is this, and that the volume is this, and the volume is this. So what's really missing for us to be able to find is the height. So we need to find the height. And because they share a height, because the height connects the two bases, if we know the height of one, we know the height of the other. So we just need to solve for one height. So to do that, we can do either one, it doesn't really matter. So like if we chose to do the rectangular prism, okay, just because it tends to be easier in our heads to deal with rectangles over triangles. If I have set up the equation, volume equals B times H, because that's what we're given. We're given the volume. And we replace the volume with 24 3/8. And we know that the area of the base is 7.5. Then we can find the H pretty easily, right? We can part the waters like Moses do, isolate the variable, do the inverse, and we can plug that into our calculator. So we've got 24 3/8, and we're going to divide that by 7.5. Gives me a height of 3.25. So my height is 3.25, which is also going to be the height for my triangle because they share triangles. So now we're going to find the surface area of these two. However, if you think about it, we're covering this shape, so we need to use the surface area formula. We'll start with that. Okay, and let's do the triangle first. Okay, so let's do the triangle first. So 2 times the area of the triangle, which is 3.75, plus the perimeter of the triangle. So if I come over here to the picture of my triangle and I walk my triangle, okay, I go 3 1/4, 2 1/2, 3 1/4. I need to add that together. So for my perimeter, I've got 3 1/4 times 2, because there's 2 of those, plus 2 1/2. That ends up giving me a perimeter of 9. And we know that the height is 3.25. If I put that in my calculator, 2 times 3.75 plus 9 times 3.25 ends up giving me a surface area of 36.75. However, okay, do you see how this rectangle right here is part of, I don't know if you can see it in the camera. This rectangle right here is not on the outside because we're being put together, so we don't need to cover that inside rectangle, so we need to take that out. So we need to know what the area of that rectangle is going to be. So it's 2 1/2 by 3.25, so we have 2 1/2 times 3.25, which gives me 8.125. That needs to come out of the surface area that we found. So minus 8.125. So the surface area, the final surface area of that outside triangle is 28.625. That's just of the triangle. Now we gotta do the surface area of the rectangle. So surface area of the rectangle. I've got two bases, so 2 times 7.5, plus the perimeter of my base. So my base right here, 3 and 3 makes 6, 2.5 and 2.5 make 5, 5 plus 6 gives me 11, times my overall height, which is 3.25. Multiply that together, or put it into the formula. Gives me 50.75. But once again, we don't need this top rectangle or this bottom rectangle, because the doghouse is going to be sitting on the ground, and we're not going to wrap the bottom of the doghouse in the paper. We just need, so we need to take out the top rectangle and the bottom rectangle. So we need to take out this that we've already found, that 8.125. We got to take that out twice this time instead of just once. So I'm going to take that 8.125 times 2. Oops. Delete, times 2 gives me 16.25. I got to take this out. So I have 50.75 minus 16.25 gives me 34.5. Woo, that's a lot. Okay, so we're almost there. Hold on with me. I know it's been a lot. So now we can take the triangle plus the rectangle. So 28.625 plus 34.5. And I have a whopping surface area of 63.125 feet squared. Anyways, I know that was a lot. I know. You won't have one like that on your homework tonight, but it is important so that you see those things worked through and thought through. Okay? Alright. Moving on, we're only going to do a few more, and then we're going to, I'm going to let you just practice your homework. Okay? Let's look at number 4. It says the total surface area of a cube is 24 square inches. What is the volume? So our question's asking for the volume. We know that the surface area of a cube is 24. And if we're talking about the cube, we can flip back to the front where I told you how to find the surface area formula of a cube and the volume of the cube. So surface area of a cube, remember, was 6s squared. And the volume of a cube was s cubed, where s stands for side lengths. But we don't know the side lengths, but we could figure it out here. Okay? So if I know that the surface area is, because that's what's the missing piece here, I'm missing my s. So I know my surface area is 24. 6 days 6. I'm missing s squared. Part the waters. Isolate variable. Do the inverse. 24 divided by 6 is 4. Leaves us with s squared. Well, what times what gives me 4? If I don't know, I can square root it in my calculator. But I end up knowing that s equals 2. So because s equals 2, I can come over here and plug this in. And this is saying that s times s times s. So 2 times 2 times 2 gives me a volume of 8 inches cubed. So that one wasn't really too terribly awful. Okay? Alright, let's turn the page. Let's see, which one else do I want to do? I don't want to take up too much of your time. Alright, let's do 2 more and then we're going to be done. Alright, Lonnie makes a regular hexagonal prism as shown with a surface area of approximately 244.8 square inches to collect his change. What is the approximate volume of change that the prism will hold? So we're looking for volume. We've been given the surface area. We know the B, and we know each side length is 3. And so if we know each side length is 3, then we also know the perimeter. We can find the perimeter is 3 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times 6, which gives me 18. So what's missing here is my height. I don't know my height. But I can find it because that's what we've been doing. So to get to volume, I need to first start with my surface area, because if we have volume, I need my B and my H. I already have my B, but I don't have my H, but I can figure it out. So I've got surface area equals 2B plus pH. I know my surface area is 244.8. 2 stays 2. My B is 23.4. My perimeter we found out to be 18 times H. Combine like terms, simplify that, gives me 46.8 plus 18H. So now we just have to solve for H, which is our basic two-step equation solving, where we part the water, isolate the variable, do the inverse on both sides, subtract those two in your calculator. Should give you 198 equals 18H. Still not done because H isn't by itself. Divide by 18. I end up with a height equivalent to 11. Now that I know my height, I can plug that into my volume formula because I know my B is 23.4. My height is 11. So when you put that in your calculator, what do you get? You get 257.4 inches cubed. So really it's just working a two-step equation. Alright. I think that's pretty much all we're going to do. I'm going to stop it there. So your homework tonight that you're going to go ahead and practice is in your homework packet, and I will have the answer key also posted on Google Classroom that you can go back and refer to once you have it answered. Thank you for holding in there with me.